Hello and welcome to PazzoGaming. Today we're going to go through the ore processing and how to automate ore processing. We're just kind of building out our base. In the last episode, I think we went through all our auto crafting, getting our machines, our crafting computers up and running. So we got all these. We went through our basic ME crafting pattern storage. So we're going to store them all within here, within our next to our molecular assemblers. We also went through labeling, how you can label interfaces and label them however you want. And you can rename them to keep things organized so they'll show up nice and clean within your ME interface terminal. So as you can see, we have them all laid out here nicely. And we got our 3 supercomputers for the big crafting jobs. So the next thing we're going to kind of work on is how to deal with ore. So it's one of the big things you're going to have to deal with within your network at any given time, especially when you start getting into the auto crafting and automation of everything. Especially and further when you tie in like laser drills and things like that that produce and consume, and you're using a big quarry and it makes a lot of ore, you have to find a way to deal with it. So what we've done is we built this, we'll go through it here in a sec, we'll just in the detail, but we'll go through the high level really quick. Is we have some item ducts, some impulse item ducts that can pull items out of our ME network. They can both pull and they can push them back in. We do that by using retrievers and servos. We go through the different types of retrievers, we'll go through here in a sec, and we're using pulverizers to break down the ore into dust and put it into our network. So as you can see, we got a lot of ore that we got to break down, and we're going to get some of that stuff going right now. So first thing you want to do is you want to build a few pulverizers, I guess. This is your basic pulverizer. So there are different levels. There's hardened and so forth beyond that. This one's for your basic one. They all change based on the type of machine frame that you place into this shape when you're crafting it. So it's 1 piston, 1 machine frame, 2 flint, 2 copper gear, and 1 redstone reception coil. So I do recommend probably building probably about 3 to 4 of them minimum. We ended up building 7 for this because we want it to be kind of the max efficiency. If we're pumping a whole bunch of like laser drills and quarries and everything else to it, that's what we want it to be able to deal with all that. Also, when we take back, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a mining dimension, and rather than some of the tesseracting and stuff back and forth, we usually just carry a little memory card, and once you dump it in, it's going to have, let's say it's 10,000 ore it has to deal with. So we want it to be dealing with that stuff quickly versus taking a long time. We're going to make a bunch of retrievers, and so they're made with 2 Enderium nuggets, 1 piece of glass, 1 eye of ender, which is I think it's blaze powder and ender pearl, and we have 2 iron ingots. That will get you 2 retrievers, and the same thing for your servos. Very similar, so it's 2 iron ingots in this case, 1 glass, 1 redstone, and 2 iron ingots, and that will get you your servos. Just on a quick note with those guys, there are many different types. So if I go, let's go servo just for simplicity here. We can see at the top there are many different types. There's 5 main types, and they each do various different things, each improving on the previous one. So as you upgrade, you get better along the way. You can also see the speeds change along them. So there's a speed increase, and also they can extract fluids and items and things like that. How many they can carry, whether it's a whole stack or just 4 at a time, things like that. And then when you get into the higher ones, you can also do things like blacklisting, whitelisting. You can limit to a certain type or a percentage of an item. You can do by item ID, things like that. So there's a lot of crazy things you can start doing then. In ours, we did use the resonant. We picked the highest one just so we have them in there, and then we can build about later. So we'll go through that here in a sec. And we're going to need a bunch of item ducts, which we're going to turn into impulse item ducts by using a fluid transposer and a magma crucible. So to get your basic item duct, you need to make 1 hardened glass and 2 iron ingots, and that will give you 6 item ducts. So we have a bunch right here pre-made. We got 20 of them. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have this little setup that we're going to make our impulse item ducts out of it. So we have our magma crucible, which basically will take any material that is allowed to be broken down into a liquid. So glowstone and redstone are the 2 primary ones that you're going to use for this kind of thing. There are tons of other things you can do with magma crucible, but for most of these items, you're going to use either redstone or glowstone. And we're going to break it down into a liquid form, and we're going to pump it into the fluids transposer, which will then place it into either a bucket, or in this case, we're going to place it into our item duct. So first thing I'm going to do is place some glowstone into there, and what's that going to do is going to turn it into a liquid, and the liquid then goes across and is placed in here. And so as you can see, the energized glowstone is going up slowly, and this machine can hold a total of 80 buckets, or 80,000 millibuckets. Then all you want to do is just place your item ducts just directly in your machine, and what it's going to do is fill them all full of the glowstone. Each one that it makes is going to consume 200 liquid glowstone into the item duct to turn it into an impulse item duct. So once we have this 20 done, right there, we now have our impulse item ducts. And so what this does is it allows items to travel rapidly, and it does give a nice visual appeal. It's nice and yellow and bright and everything else. So once you have that, you want to lay out your machines just in a straight line is what I recommend. You can skip every other one and so forth. We did it for high density in a small area. You want to then configure the inputs and outputs. So in ours, we have the top as the input, which is the blue, and our output, which is the orange, which is on the side, on this side. And we also attached then our servos, which are designed to basically, as you see when I mouse over them, it extracts items or fluids from something. So we have our servos designed to pull out everything. We did not blacklist anything. So it's going to pull anything that the machine has in the orange area and put it into this pipe. And that's going to feed back into our system. And on the other side, we have the retrievers, which are designed to connect to either a chest, or in our case, we have them connect to an interface at the bottom. And what they do is they pull the ore straight down into the machine. And so in this case, it's looking for any one of these 5 ores. If they show up in our network, they will get pulled and placed into the blue area because it's on the top of our pulverizer. And so we did that for all these. And so each one of these is configured the exact same way. We have the same patterns in them, and they're ready to go. So if I look just down below really quick, and so now that we're down below, you can see that we have the interface that we talked about before is pulling from these. So this item duct was attached to the top of the pulverizers up on top. And you can see that we have this interface set to pull copper ore if it has any within it, but I don't believe it does. Let's just make sure. Copper. It has industrial craft, but it doesn't have any more ore that isn't processed. So what we can do is we could actually take some of these. So why don't we go through and we're going to take a few of these and start getting them processed. So now that we have this basic setup, it's actually fairly straightforward. We can take things like, let's take our iron ore, for instance. So I'm just going to put one stack here just so I can mark it out. And we're going to set it up so that it gets pulled and gets stored from here. So if we dump a bunch of these into here, there's a whole stack of them, and you'll notice that it pulled then from the network, our storage network, which is this big supply right here. We got 10,000 of them here. And it placed one stack to match my stack that it put in. Now, the only thing you need to do is we need to set it up to pull from the top. So we're going to do this just with a few other ones here while we're down here, and then we don't have to keep running back and forth. Why don't we do, we can do a copper one, we could do a coal, and let's take some nether and gold. And why don't we do glowstone while we're at it. And we're just going to place them in all these. So we're just going to match them. So we go, sorry, some gold, quartz, glowstone. We did the iron already, and we're going to do our coal. So we've got all those right there. That will pull then from the system and put it into the item duct, or have it available to the item duct. And we're going to add it to our retrievers, which are now going to pull it straight out. And we're going to add that to each of our furnaces up on top here. So you'll notice as soon as we start adding it, they will all start coming through, and you'll see them pipe into the network here. So we're just going to throw these in really quick. So we added those, and we're just going to do that for each of these. So you can see what I did is I just copied it. We'll go through that really quick in another little episode, but using a red print, we copied the same config that we put in this one into these other ones straight across. And so now we can see the items are just flying out. So they're flying in on one side and then out on the other, going back into the network. And so this is a very efficient way to have our processing going on. And so we can see this one's just pumping through iron. And well, the other benefit of having the pulverizers is ore doubling as well. So hopefully that helps on a way to optimize and lay out the basics of ore processing. We didn't automate any of the ore processing per se with auto crafting. We can do that in a later one when it's more on-demand crafting, and we'll do very specialized setups for that if there's any specific use cases for that. There aren't too many, and there's very small ones. So we've done our pulverizer, which covers, let's say, 80% of the ores. There are some ores that cannot be dealt with in a pulverizer, but they can be dealt with, let's say, in a block smasher. One of those is draconium ore, so we have a block smashing area for that, same kind of setup. We're going to be adding in a redstone aisle, so we can do all our furnacing and smelting and stuff. And then we're going to add in our alloys and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get a few of these built out, and then we'll probably throw them in here in the next episode or so coming up. So hope all is well. Like I said, if this helped and hopefully got you going, let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know how we're doing. Talk to you soon. Thanks.